All right. Assessment 4. Looking at number 31. Which quadrilateral is not in the correct place on the Venn diagram? Opposite sides are congruent, has 4 right angles. Well, what are the two things that has 4 right angles? A rectangle has 4 right angles, and a square has 4 right angles. Opposite sides are congruent. Are the opposite sides of a parallelogram congruent? Yes, they are. Are the opposite sides of a rhombus congruent? Yes, they are. So which one is in the wrong placement? Tell me about the opposite sides of a rectangle. Yes, their opposite sides are also congruent, so this should be over in that category. Actually, it should be in the middle here. So it is in an incorrect placement. B, the rectangle. 32. Which of the following statements are true about all rhombi? Do all rhombi have 4 sides always congruent? Yes. Notice how this says statements, so there could be more than one. Looking at your answer choices, there obviously are. Opposite sides are always parallel. Rhombus, yes. All angles are always congruent. Rhombus. Remember, it's that little sideways looking thing. Are all those angles congruent? No. All 4 angles are always 90 degrees. Not always. The sum of all the angles is 360. Yes, because it's a quadrilateral. Diagonals always bisect each other. This would not be on your SOL. That is not a 6th grade thing. I use this as a 7th grade. This is a true statement, by the way. Yes, the diagonals always cut each other directly in half on a rhombus. But anyhow, HLKN, C. You should be able to get those 3. This is the only one that should be a question mark to you. And I know some of you asked me about it. That's actually a 7th grade concept. So if you got that one wrong, I wouldn't harp on it too much. All right, next one, 33. The following shape can be classified as all of the following except. Well, first thing we need to look at is the fact that these little arrows tell you those 2 sides are parallel, these 2 sides are parallel, and you have 90-degree angles. So, first of all, does it have 4 sides? Yes, it does. So it could be a quadrilateral. Secondly, does it have 4 right angles and opposite sides congruent? Yep, so it could be a rectangle. Does it have 4 sides and all opposite angles congruent? Yes, so it could be a parallelogram. It is not a rhombus. Why? Because a rhombus has all sides congruent, and that picture does not. Okay, looking at your criteria for quads, remember we look at angles, we look at opposite sides for parallelism, and we look at opposite sides for congruency. Those are the 3 things we look for: parallel, congruent, and angle structure. 34, use the circle graph. U.S. population by age in 2010. 0 to 17 is that size pi, 18 to 44 is that size, 45 to 64 is that size, 65 plus is that size. It says which bar graph shows the same data as in the circle graph. Obviously here, 45 to 64, if we're labeling these largest pieces of pie to smallest, this is the biggest. This one comes second, this one comes third, this one comes fourth. Really don't need to know any other information other than that. Knowing that the 45 to 64, are those equal? Those might be equal. Let's check and see if they're equal. Do we have any where 45 and 64 is bigger than 1844? Yep, here. And then by how much? 50, 20. Yeah, it's not that much off though. I don't know if they're considering those two parts to be equal. I can pretty much assure you that they wouldn't be in that close a proximity. You see how big of a difference these two bars are? I think these are going to be equal in size. There's not that big of a difference between 45 and 6 to 64 and 18 to 44, so that would lead me against that choice. That would lead me against that choice. So if we're looking, these are about even. There they are. 65 comes next, and then 17 comes last. And I can assure you, I'm 99% sure that they would not put anything that close on your SOL. It'll be more obvious than that. Using your benchmark fractions of a half, a fourth, an eighth, blah, blah. All right, 35. The stem and leaf plot shows the total points out of 100 for 20 students on Mr. Scott's last science test. Which circle graph displays the data correctly? So, how many in the 50s? We have 2 kids in the 50s. So 2 out of 20 was in the 50s. 60s was 4 out of 20 kids. You see it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 70s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 20. 80s, again, 2 out of 20. And then the 90s, 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 20. So when we're looking for a piece of pie, or we're looking to judge the pies, which number is going to be the biggest? 70s should be the biggest. Then you should have 90s, 2 pieces of pie the same size of 90s and 60s. And then again, 2 pieces of pie the same size for 80s and 50s. So let's look to see where they go. 70s at the largest percentage. Let's see, a 40% here for 70s. 30, 20, 20, 20, 3 the same. Nope. 70s is 20, but that one's 45, so no. Those graphs are hard to see, aren't they? That one's 20, but that one's 40, so no. So process of elimination tells us the answer choice here is B. 70s at 40%. 2 matching ones, 60s and 90s match, and 80s and 50s match. Nothing more than matching up pictures with information. Number 36. The circle graph represents the results of a survey conducted in Mrs. Farmer's first block class. Which sport is favorite of half as many students as basketball? Well, looking at basketball, you should be able to notice that as a benchmark fraction. What benchmark fraction do we have there? Even if you don't know the benchmark fraction, if you take that pie piece and you look for which one is half of that, you should be drawn to B, hockey. Football's about the same size. Baseball is about twice as much, or a little over twice as much. Hockey is half. 25%, 10%. Done. 37. Donovan took a survey during his math class. He asked each student the following question. On average, how many text messages do you receive in an hour? The list below shows his results. 20, 13, 29, 38, 9, 15, 8, 5, 10, 50, 21, 35, 19, 20, 15, 199, 6, 20, 13, 2. Which measure of center best describes the results? Well, we know with mean, all data is close. Or we should know that. We know with mode, there are repetitions, repeating data. We know with median, there are outliers, highs and lows. And balance point is not a measure of center, so that's not even in the equation. So, which one of these sets of data, what would you use? Obviously the median. They are not all close together. There are not multiple repeats. It is a set of data that has outliers. 38. What is the balance point? Our mind should automatically go to x's. And here we go. Outside working in, alternating left to right, moving x's to the middle. Are we even now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a middle set of data at 4. So your balance point is 4. All right, number 39. Which of the following is an example of an independent event? Independent event. Two events that do not affect each other. Two events that do not affect each other. With replacement are keywords there. So let's look. Flipping a fair coin and rolling a 6-sided number cube. How many events are there? 1, 2, and do they affect each other? No, they don't. So right away you should be drawn to letter A. Let's look at the others though. Selecting the order in which one picture will be taken of each of 4 friends by drawing their names out of a hat. Not 2 events. Picking 2 cards at the same time from the deck and both being a queen. Not 2 events. You're picking them at the same time. Selecting 2 different flavored pieces of candy, 1 piece at a time, without replacement. Becomes dependent as soon as you see the words without replacement. A, easy enough. Dead giveaway. And number 40. A bowl of fruit is on the table. It contains 3 apples, 5 oranges, and 2 pears. Ryan and Kenneth come home from school and, at the same time, randomly grab 1 fruit each. What is the probability that both grab pears? So you have Ryan grabbing, and what's his probability of grabbing a pear? 2 out of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And at the same time, you have Kenneth grabbing. So he also has an opportunity of grabbing 2 out of 10 for a total of 4 out of 10 times 10 is 100. Multiplying fractions ain't no problem. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Yes? And then 4 over 100 both simplifies by 4, leaving you at 1 out of a 25 chance that they both would grab pears. Remember, on these, it is favorable outcomes. Favorable. Gosh, I'm having a hard time spelling today. Favorable outcomes over possible outcomes. When you're doing probability, what you're looking for over the possible number of outcomes there are. All right, looking at, well, let me stop there, put a new video out. Be right back.